Hey there, Tony Butler. Today we're going to talk about how to develop a voice for your brand in your content marketing strategy. Brand storytelling is an incredible avenue for promoting your company, creating an authentic and consistent voice. Your company will connect with your tribe through storytelling. Of course, that's what primal storytelling is all about. Hey, but before we do that, please click on like on this video, and if you haven't done so yet, follow this channel. I'm going to be sharing with you everything you need to build a content marketing system for your business that'll help you scale. Whether you're a startup, SaaS, manufacturing, e-commerce, B2B, B2C, it doesn't matter. Primal storytelling is a content marketing system for humans, and that makes all the difference. Okay, let's get right into it. If you're going to create a content system, a brand storytelling program, you're going to need a narrative voice. It's nothing more than your brand voice. How are you communicating? There's many styles and structures you can use, but before you decide, you first got to consider a key insight. This is the thing. You're connecting with people. You're not connecting with some, ephemeral brand. So they want to connect with a real person. They don't want to do business or interact entirely with a faceless brand. A brand is an abstract concept. It's not real. And I think sometimes marketers, especially people in the company, forget that the brand is not real. There's two ways you can immediately improve the communications. The first one is choose a person as a representative character of the brand. Have a spokesperson with your audience that your audience can connect with. It can be a founder or CEO. That's great. Think like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs even. They all put a face on their companies, and all those companies were better off with the representative character of their celebrity CEO. I'd argue that Tesla and SpaceX would never have survived without Elon Musk's unique personality. The guy has an ability to connect with the press and the general audience. He's a really charismatic guy, and his vision is magnetic. And him telling the story of Tesla, him telling the vision, like him telling it, like coming from him, that has made all the difference with investors and future buyers. So what happens if you don't have a person in the company? You could hire one. You could hire someone. Lots of brands have successfully hired a celebrity as a spokesperson. Think George Foreman, Victoria Principal, Jared Fogle. All of them were hired to help promote the brand. And they're successful. You just have to be careful. Jared Fogle was successful for Subway for a number of years until he got into legal trouble, and he ultimately ended up in prison. And some people associated Subway with Fogle's bad behavior. It was a disaster for them. You don't want that. So you got to be choosy who you pick to represent your brand. So the second way is to personify a voice. Think like the Geico Gecko or Smokey the Bear. They're both creative characters that were used to connect with audiences. Another one, like the Coca-Cola Bears, they're another example. They don't really speak, but they do tell stories, and they're used to connect with Coca-Cola's audience. Creating a character from scratch to represent your company, it takes courage. Obviously, if you're not the shareholder or the owner or CEO, it'll take some approvals. But if you do it skillfully enough, it can be a way to connect in a really big way. And finally, if a representative character or a personified character are just not in the cards, your marketing team just can't get it approved, then you're left with what I think of as the abstract character. All of your work is going to be in the voice of the brand, even though it's faceless. Sometimes that's just the best you can do, and that's just the way it's going to be. And for some big companies, that is the way it is. So what can you do then when you're using the abstract to develop a voice? Okay, and this is where we can borrow some structures from fiction. Okay, so in fiction, a narrator will normally choose a point of view, whether it's first person, second, or third. I think third person is probably most fiction. But for brands, nonfiction, it can be helpful to instead think of the brand as part of the actual story itself, rather than a detached narrator. Okay, you're going to put the brand in the story. Your customer is going to play a role, and your brand is going to play a role in the story itself. Okay. So this is where I think of archetypes. If you look back at fiction, every storyline, look at any of the Joseph Campbell stuff and the hero's journey, there are structures, there's people in the stories that they serve certain roles in the storyline. So when you think of your brand or your personified character, whatever it's going to be, as in the story, now you've got something to work for, okay? To work from. There's 5 structures you're going to use, okay? 5 archetypes. So the first one is the mentor. The second is the ally, hero, the herald, and last but not least is the royal. All 5 of these archetype roles, they're from fiction, like I said, any one of which might work for your brand, and it'll help you create a consistent voice over your long tail content and campaigns. Okay, so let's go through them just real quick. The first archetypical role, the mentor, think of Gandalf to Frodo and the dwarves. He was their mentor. He did what he could to help them along their journey. In this role, the brand is the helper. And oftentimes the brand is going to take the role when they're trying to teach and coach. You see a lot of coaches and experts of all kinds will use this role. Second role is the ally. An ally is someone who helps you accomplish your goals. Okay, most brands can use this one to a certain extent because if you are working in a business, you're working with your audience to solve a problem of some sort. That's what commerce is. We solve people's problems. All business revolves around solving a customer's problem. Okay, so really strong one and very common. Third is the hero. This is a difficult one because you don't want the brand to overshadow the customer, but it can be really effective. Think Richard Branson. Okay, so Sir Richard, as people call him, all of his PR stunts, like flying a balloon around the world or racing in his speedboat, he's always casting himself as the world's the real most interesting man, and he does it in such a charismatic way that he just draws the audience in. You want to go on him with his journey. You want to see what's the guy going to do next. He's created kind of this, it's a personification of himself. Is more than what he normally is. This fun-loving character and he pulls you along with him. And even though he's the hero, you still feel like a welcome guest with him. Okay? So fourth is the voice of the herald. So in ancient times, heralds went before royalty and announced their arrival. But in a modern sense, brands use the voice of a herald as they're telling something about the future. Okay? They're introducing something completely new to the marketplace. I see startups, they're often using herald. They're trying to take you on a journey where the world of the future is a very different place, and the here and the now, okay? And if you stick with them, it's going to be an adventure to remember, okay? That's the herald. What's about the future? Everything about the future, okay? And finally, the last archetype voice is the royal. Now, this is a tricky one. Some brands and individuals can pull this off and some can't. So you got to be really skillful and careful. Okay, the idea of royalty, it's been around for thousands of years, 10,000 years or more. And it still has a deep primal appeal. But in modern times, especially in America, our royalty, it's been replaced with celebrity. And it's still associated with beauty and riches. Okay, you see a lot of people in the influencer crowd on Instagram tapping into the idea of royalty. You see it everywhere. Take a look at Kendall or Kylie Jenner's Instagram sometime and just scroll down the feed. You don't have to read any of the posts. Just all of the pictures, they tell a story of this kind of pseudo-esque modern fairy tale princess whose life is fabulous, wealthy, and beautiful. And each of their posts is perpetuating this royal voice. Okay, whether it's real or not, it doesn't matter. It's the persona that you're taking on, okay? It's that voice of the brand. So there you have it. It's 5 brand voices. There's certainly others, but I would say if you're just getting started or you're trying to get your content marketing system up and running, you want to magnify it, you want to get better results, choose a voice. Most brands can choose one of the 5 as a structure and get started. I don't think you're limited to a single point of view. You can switch from mentor to ally or vice versa. Okay, but in general, you want to choose one and use it most of the time. You can sprinkle in some others just for variety. Okay. You could use a royal voice most of the time and then switch to ally or even mentor, okay? Or if you're a mentor and a guru, then sometimes you could be an ally. You can mix it up. It doesn't have to be one single voice the entire time. So the usefulness in the voices is the awareness and skill that comes with your understanding of the structures, not necessarily the voice themselves, okay? The voice that you use and the content you create, the more skillful you are in understanding the underlying structures, the easier it will be to build it out and to make it work. Okay? It's not that complicated. All right, so there you have it. In less than 10 minutes, some solid background on how to construct your brand voice. If you're struggling to build out a content marketing program for your business, or you're not sure where to get started, you just want a little extra direction, share a link to your website in the comments. I'll take a look. I'll give you some ideas on where to start on a value theme, free of charge. You can also message me on Instagram. It's just Anthony L. Butler, or you can shoot me an email at anthony@candoideas.com. I answer my own email. My assistant doesn't touch it. I also answer my own messages on here, believe it or not. Okay, until next time, good marketing to you.